welcome to video 2 of the Concealed Carry Basics. I'm Ron Danielewski. I'll be hosting this video for you, and what we're going to cover in this video is the wearing of your equipment, the selection of your holster, and your handgun. Let's start with the wearing of your equipment. You see me right now in a casual, untucked shirt, and this is a great concealment garment. But also be aware that you can wear a full-on suit, business suit. You can wear a decent blazer, as I have many times, for your concealed carry, and it's great, so don't feel constrained to just what I'm wearing here. Now, the question now becomes, where do I wear my equipment? Well, I'm not going to get into the weeds here. We do have videos on the Armory available to you. It's also in our drills manual. We'll go in depth where to wear your equipment, your holster, and your mag pouch. But for argument's sake, let's just really briefly let you know that the appropriate place to wear your handgun equipment is going to be somewhere from the 3 o'clock position, or the points of your hips, back toward the 5 o'clock and the 7 o'clock, somewhere in here, carefully avoiding the spine. Let's talk a little bit about the holster selection. You have many options out there when it comes to holster selection, and really the two big ones are the leather and the Kydex, and you can get combinations of that, leather and Kydex. I'm a big fan of Kydex. What I'm holding in my hand is a Raven concealment. I'm right now wearing on my hip a Cool Bag cloak holster that is partially leather, insert on the inside, that also converts to an outside the waistband. The difference between the two, as you can see from here, is that the inside the waistband goes inside the waistband of my trousers. The outside of the waistband would actually fit on the belt on the outside of my trousers. I like the inside of the waistband because it holds a little bit more securely against my body, and it gives me a little bit more sure retention, and I know where everything is at. For you, what's going to help you decide where you're going to wear your equipment is really your lifestyle. If you're somebody who is seated most of the time, maybe you're a truck driver. Maybe you just drive from city to city. If you're seated and you have that seatbelt on, the configuration I'm wearing right now, back here toward the 4:30, 5 o'clock position, when you have the seatbelt on, it's not really easy to access that firearm. You might need some additional options, something that might maybe mount by the steering wheel, so you can access it easily there. Then you can take it off from there, put it in your holster when you get out. That's another option. Or maybe underneath the arm would be a better option for you. If you're a lady, you have multiple options. There are some great purses out there manufactured today that you can use, carry. Just make sure when you have it in your vehicle, it's secured someplace you can get to it, because if you need to slam on those brakes for whatever reason, and if that purse goes flying, the last thing you want to have to do is rummage down there for your purse. There are bras now. Great bras, very fast access. It's a byproduct of Looper and Blade Tech. I'd ask you to go take a look at those access devices as well. There's just a myriad of things, equipment that you can use out there to access that. Maxpedition makes great bags that you can use to access your firearm, to carry that concealed with you. I've used those in the past. They work well also. So we've talked a little bit about the holster. Let's talk a little bit about the handgun. Handgun selection is fairly straightforward, and that is we're looking for a size that's going to fit in our body. Generally what makes that fit, the size, is usually the stock of the handgun. If you're a taller, bigger, beefier person, you can go a little bit bigger. But what you want to be careful about is having a stock that's so long that when you wear your concealment clothing, that it really sticks out there. This is what we call printing. When you can see the portion of the handgun sticking out, or you can obviously see someone's carrying something, printing something we want to avoid, because it kind of defeats that idea of complete concealment or concealment in general. So size is important. Not only the size of the handgun frame itself, but the caliber as well. And I'm not going to get into the weeds. Again, we go really, really deep into handgun selection. We have free downloads on our website. Right there on the home page, it's going to help you walk yourself through selecting a handgun appropriately. So I kind of skip over the handgun caliber, and I do want to talk a little bit though about the ergonomics of the handgun, which simply means how you're going to actually be able to handle this weapon once you have to pull it out and use it. If that stock is too short, we talked about the downside of being too long, printing. If it's too short and your hand sticks out the bottom here, when you go to load, when you go to do your speed reloads, when you go for your malfunction clearances, you'll end up either breaking your grip to accommodate that so you don't pinch your hand, or if you don't, you will pinch your hand, you'll end up with blood blisters and you'll end up bleeding. So again, sizing that handgun is important. And finally, on the ergonomics, what I want to talk about is the simplicity of being able to operate this handgun, both in the loading and the malfunction clearances and your empty gun reload. If you have an exposed barrel like the M9, the Beretta M9, if you're not real careful, you're going to end up just really chewing up your hand. So consider any sharp edges you may have. I know there are some guns out there that have very narrow rear sights, and when you start working the action on your handguns, you can end up doing a really nasty number on your hands. So ergonomics are important. The weight, you're going to have to become accustomed to. Be advised that the lighter you go with your handgun, the more recoil, sharper recoil you're experiencing, and then the heavier the handgun is, obviously the less recoil you'll get, but it's going to weigh you down a little bit more. So you're always trying to find this balance. I really do like the Glocks, I like the 1911s, like the Kimbers, etc. They're very well balanced, they're ergonomic, and they function quite well when you're talking about handling your handgun for a lethal force encounter. When it comes to semi-autos or revolvers, that's really a personal choice. I like semi-autos, I get a few more rounds in there, the reloads are certainly easier to learn, but if you do have a revolver, you can learn to use those just as well and effectively if that's what you want to go with. That's going to conclude this video. In the next series, we're going to get into a little bit of the clothing, how that works, functions here, and we'll get into some of the other aspects of concealed carry.